Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So I guess everyone thought that today would be the lightest day of the year, not much action, and a lot of people were right. Not much to do today as the indices played with the flat line back and forth. But what do you expect after a big 4-day rally that was very methodical and tradable last week? And then you did have a little bit of an up move, and you had different stocks isolated with nice gains. But you had to be very specific, you had to be very stock specific, and a lot of things didn't close in their highs, and the moves were a little random. And we don't like random moves as traders because it's hard to use our probability system. So that's why on a week like this, when we've already had a decent sized move, you do a little less. But a lot of the strong stocks that have been in markup territory continue to move forward. You just had to be there at the right time. Now if you take a quick look at the chart of the S&P, you will see we've had a very nice methodical move that started last Tuesday. If you take a closer look here, you will see this was your igniting bar that we spoke about. It broke this small descending channel to the upside. You look at your trend here. This was the low in October, a higher low in November. Then you had another higher low in December. We use the Fibonacci retracement numbers, each time just to show you this was the retracement to the 0.618% that came in right here. And then we did that again, from lows to highs, and that's exactly where we turned. And now we've broken above this small little downtrend. Okay, we haven't broken above it with huge volume. It hasn't been an enormous move, but at this point of the year, you take what you can get. We're above the 200-day moving average. On the 5th day, small inside bar. What I'd like to do is I'd like to see us hover above this downtrend for a little bit longer, stay above 1259 in the S&P to show some commitment. And then I do think that the path of least resistance is to the upside. But again, what you don't want to do is fall asleep behind the wheel. What you don't want to do is be too deep or have too many tiers on. Right now is a tier 1 at best. If you're a macro investor, you're holding the best stocks that we've talked about, let them run. A lot of people cut off their winners way too early. And if you're in a tier 2 or tier 3, just know when it's time to trim. Now Friday I sold my Apple. I tried to hold it for 4 days. Obviously I sold a bit too soon. If you look at today, Apple went to the macro target, but I thought, you know what, here's a nice igniting bar. This is when you add above resistance, and this was a nice day to take some off the table. And then today it went really fast. And where did it go? It went right back to that resistance from the earnings. You guys remember, here was that island top. You had your gap down on earnings, was never able to fill that gap, and then you had your harsh move lower. Okay, now we came right back to retest that resistance. So what I'd like to do now is see a bit of sideways action. Let this hold above 400. Let it hold above even 405, 406. And then I do think we'll get a move into this gap that could be really good for a trade, as well as some movement for investors that have been holding this, because it still never broke below the 200-day. It got a little choppy in here, but overall stayed the course with Steve Jobs passing away, a lackluster 4S debut, and now we're coming into the new year where there's going to be a lot of new money allocations, so it should get another push. So stay the course if you're an investor. As a trader, it might need a little bit of time. The cash flow today was Google. Google went after Apple went, and we had those price points in front of us. You had 634, you had 636. I talked about the daily, the weekly, the monthly charts. If you look at Google here, you'll see nice clean move, guys. This was a nice clean move above big resistance. Okay, the high here, the first one, was 634.70, and then once it cleared the December high of 636.56, you had a nice extension to as high as almost 644.49. So that's a nice move. You go to your weekly chart, just trying to break above. I know it's had a big move, and it looks a little extended on the weekly, but you go to the monthly chart, and it has done nothing. Google has done absolutely nothing since 2009. It's been in a 200-point range going sideways as they went from just search to mobile to the cloud to mobile devices, you name it. Google's in there now, and it's all about to get monetized. We go about, we continue above 640. The high here from 2007 is, what is that, 747? The measured move of this whole cup here is about, what is this? You can take a quick look here. I put this on the blog from just say about 350 to about 650. That gives you a much bigger move, even far exceeding the highs of the 2007. So we shall see. That's why I have this as my 2012 stock of the year. As far as other stocks, Amazon, no trade sign of Baidu, still finding its footing. The gaming stocks, with the legislation passed with the states being able to pick and choose what they want to do as far as the lottery system and online poker, they had a nice move. MGM, as a laggard, still doesn't look like much, but today, had a nice move. What was it up? Maybe 6% or so. LVS came right back in its range, from the support that we identified. Now it's back in the middle. It's probably going to have a little trouble here, I think. Short term, it's going to have some resistance. We'll see where that goes. Wynn has been a horrendous stock, but it also, as far as a bottom feeder, I think guys made money as it recrossed, this small downtrend. Okay, so now if it could stay above this, 110, perhaps it could move a little bit into these moving averages between 119 and 127. Today, the banks were a bit weaker. They still can't get out of their own way. This was the last rally. Goldman went to about 115. Then it held above the recent low, a lower high, couldn't even make any more traction. And now you have a bit of a double bottom, but if this is the high of this rally here, if like 95, which is what I sold on Friday, is a new peak, and you have a high, a lower high, another lower high, and look how short this rally is, these banks have a lot more trouble coming in store for it, and then I doubt we're going to get any more follow-through moving forward. Today, I switched gears with Exxon. Exxon was a nice trade, 5-day up move. Today it seemed like it wanted to pause. If you take a quick look at Exxon, 2 nice buys. We talked about it right here in October. This is when it cleared. It's almost like all you need is a piece of paper, and it's that easy. That's why I'm good at this, because I'm not that smart. Get above 74. What do you have? A big move to 82. You come back, retest, and then look again. Nice resistance. Traded above this, 82 area, and now it's as high as almost 86. You look to your left, you'll see it's coming right into some old resistance. So today I shorted a little bit. I went home short a little. I don't think it's going to be a blockbuster trade, but there's no reason why you can't see a pull into 84 or maybe even 83 before it decides to figure out what the next direction here is. The refiners, OAH, still in this inverted head and shoulders pattern. You have 2 patterns within a pattern. You have the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder. You also have this descending channel. So it has some freedom to get to this downtrend, which is around 120 before it has to get some real big volume. But for now, take a closer look here. If it can get going above this, 117, it has a bit more room. So for those of you that didn't get shaken out around 108, you're still in there. I would only be a tier 1, and then if it starts breaking above this, perhaps you start getting to tier 2. As far as the indices, we know the Dow's been leading, which isn't a sexy trade for traders, but better for investors. As far as the NASDAQ, it played a little catch-up today, tried to get above its trend line, tried to reclaim its 200-day, which it hasn't done yet. But give it a little bit more time. Some of the battered and bruised stocks from Oracle's news, got a lift. VMW was upgraded today. A lot of these stocks that gap down huge on that Wednesday are already in that gap. So for investors in the penalty box, they stay put. For traders looking for opportunity, there were some decent ones. Look at VMW. VMW, this was the day, it gapped down with Oracle, held long-term support, and then since then you've had a move from about 75 to as high before reversing of about 87. Now it needs time. Oracle, what did it do? Did it actually get into its gap? Let's take a look. Not really. This is that big earnings shortfall. It held the lows from August, but couldn't get into this gap, so it's showing you that nobody thinks that this is such a cheap stock with a discount that it saw. So we'll see if this is the high of this move around 26. Oracle is going to remain under pressure, especially with all the austerity in government. I think they have a lot of government contracts and whatnot. So, and they also do a lot of business in Europe, so it's starting to show up here, and that could be the first point that you could see. And then there's a little concern around IBM right now and some of the other peripherals. If you look at IBM, probably was weekend today, So here was that move when it lost that momentum up at 191. Here is the uptrend that it broke a little bit below. So I would say, this 197 now will be very interesting to see which way IBM goes. If you're a long-term investor, it's fine. Short-term looking for momentum, there's probably not a lot there. So in closing, I'm gonna make this pretty short. Okay, I talked to you guys in the chat. I mentioned that my brother is in from South Carolina, formerly of Florida. For those of you, that listen to the chat, at times I talk about him, and it's always positive. And I don't know why, but no, very positive. I talked to how he was, pretty instrumental in the Tea Party that emerged. He was very, I think, involved, very involved with Rubio getting elected, and he knows what goes on in politics, and he tries to give me the ins and outs here and there. So he's here. He's just up for the holidays. He's not dressed to impress, but he's here. I'm going to ask him a few questions on who he thinks is going to be the candidate for, to run against Obama, and what he just thinks of the political landscape as we move forward. So, Lance, my older brother, only by a few years. You might not look at it by the gray hairs, but still only a few years.
It's a couple grays.
A couple grays, and he lives in South Carolina, which is a very historic place, which you've told me about.
Absolutely.
And at this point, everyone's turning towards 2012. People want to know, will Obama get elected? Will he have Joe Biden as his vice president? Is Romney affordable candidate? Who would he choose if he does get the nod or the nomination? So let's just break it down. First, who do you think is going to be the Republican to go against President Obama in 2012?
Actually, the jury's still out. The press is kind of trying to choose our candidate for us at this point. They're gunning towards Iowa, which is a week away. And the Iowa results will lead to headlines that actually won't affect the election in any way, or the primary season in any way. Probably get a real strong showing by Ron Paul, who once you get past Iowa and you hit New Hampshire, he'll have no traction at that point. Romney should come in a close third. Right?
Third?
Yeah, in Iowa. I have a very funny feeling that we're going to get surprised and we're going to see a Rick Perry second place. That's a big call right now because there's not one press release talking about that.
I feel like everyone loved Rick Perry, and then they just listen to him talk at all of the debates, and they're just like, what's coming out of that guy's mouth?
It's hard from a Northeast perspective and the rest of the world perspective to see a Texan who likes to, basically choke on a marble when he talks in front of a camera, kind of like myself.
Right. All right. Look there a little bit.
I'm looking at the camera a little bit. See, he's showing me how to do this. I know how to do this a little bit. But no, Perry's the longest-serving governor in the third largest state in the country. There's a reason for that. Right? He's set up a lot of different things to make that state more competitive, and bring in a lot of business to the state.
It's not just oil that's making the economy run so well in Texas.
Not even close. Actually, the oil is just a piece of it. All right, but oil's always been there. Thanks. What Texas has done, all right, is they've taken the environment and they've made it tax friendly and business friendly. They've lowered the corporate tax to basically zero. The personal income tax is zero. They've become a right-to-work state, right? So they've drawn in a tremendous amount of people, right? And they've also grown their economy at least 10% year over year for the past 6 years in an economy that shrunk or has marginally grown across the country.
So if he was elected and he made that whole thesis over all the states, you think that we would be in a better position moving forward?
I wouldn't put my money on Rick Perry being the nominee, right? But what I said is he could surprise you in just the Iowa primary, pick up a little bit of traction. In New Hampshire, the second contest, it's going to be a no-brainer. Mitt Romney's got that hands down. But you will be surprised by Newt Gingrich's showing in New Hampshire. All right, he'll be within 10 points of Romney, which when you look at NBC, ABC, or CBS newscasts, they'll say that Romney crushed Newt and the rest of the field. But in Republican politics, to get that close, all right, in a Northeast state, all right, will be a major coup for Newt.
So let me ask a question, to everyone, because everyone's like wants to really know, and since you're a big Republican backer, you helped get Rubio elected. You obviously don't want to see President Obama in office anymore. We're not a political website. So for you, who do you think would be the best candidate to beat President Obama in 2012?
Of the available field, and I'll say it that way, the best possible candidate to beat Obama would be Romney.
And who would you want to see him run with as a vice president?
If Mitt Romney would get the nomination, he'd have to pick one of two different geographies. One, closest to my heart, would be Marco Rubio, who would add a Hispanic tinge to that ticket, as well as a base of conservative followers, right, which will kind of mediate the flip-flop attitude of Romney. What people don't realize, the average person, they just hear that he was this way on one issue, this way on another issue, but he actually, as a politician, had to deal with a legislature in Massachusetts that was unfriendly. So if you were going to go for something to go to 1 to 10, whereas if you would let the liberal aspect of the legislature in Massachusetts run, they would have gotten it to a 10. He dragged it down to a 7. Right? That's a big victory for a conservative in a northeastern liberal state.
Well, it seems like a lot of people say that everyone doesn't like Obamacare, and they try and make like Romney had the same system, and Obama took it from him, so they try and stick it to him with that.
On paper, when you look at it, yeah, Romneycare and Obamacare, all right, are similar, completely different in the fact that Obamacare is looking to take over the entire healthcare system, not only of the 50 states, but over all the plans in itself. He ran on the aspect that you'd be able to keep your own health care, right? But the plan in itself and how much power he gave to Catherine Sebelius and the Department of Health, right, to modify it as it goes, right, will make it very unbeneficial for private companies to keep insuring their workers, right? So they will opt out, pay the fines, right, because it'll be a lot less expensive, and then the end game, I believe, if Obama is reelected, in his third year, he will try to convert Obamacare to a single-payer system, because the other one will be unmanageable.
So I think what also everyone has a little frustration with is that you, as a Republican, says the best candidate to potentially beat what President Obama would be Romney. So, you know, with all the politics, like, why can't the base, and why can't he just be the front runner? Why would they pick someone else based, like why Gingrich or Ron Paul or whoever it is? Like, why would the Republicans put someone else that can't beat him just because of the way the system works?
It's not the Republicans. When you say Republicans, you're talking in general. Right now, what they're focused on is primary voters. And primary voters are the people that pay attention a year, year and a half, 2 years out. Right? The general person isn't paying attention right now. He might watch a debate if it shows up on his TV in front of him. Right? He's not like me who looks and sees that there's 9 debates coming up and I have them marked on my iPod, on my calendar. Right. There's a big difference. The only people that pay attention, right, are the people that they're focused on the state. Right now it's Iowa. In a week and a half it'll be New Hampshire. And then in my now new home state, which will be the one that picks the nominee, because historically South Carolina's primary in the last 15 election cycle has picked the nominee, right, without fail. All right, so South Carolina is going to be a huge battle state. They already set up, every candidate has at least 6 offices throughout the state. It's completely not yet commercialized, right? But once New Hampshire is done, every 13 seconds on that TV is going to be another ad, right, from any one of the candidates.
Are you helping with any of them in South Carolina?
I was asked by Newt to help. All right, at this point, I'm not ready to endorse any candidate at this point. All right, for me, I'm brand new to South Carolina, so there's not much I can do. If I was in Florida, I'd be helping, you know, if I had my choice.
Who would you help in Florida?
If I had my choice right now to help, it'd be Newt Gingrich. All right, if my personal choice, all right, if I was to be selfish, all right, to get the nomination, is I believe the best person to face Obama, debate Obama on the issues, with the concerns, in the most intelligent way would be Newt Gingrich.
Okay, so it's interesting. So you would like Newt Gingrich, but you think Romney would be the best, but we all have no idea who's going to be.
Yeah, the same way if you buy Apple today and you buy it, you want it to go to 500, right? But you know in your heart that it's not going to go to 500. For example, I would love to have Newt Gingrich be the nominee, but I know in my heart he's not the best candidate on a national level
why
to
won't
face
Apple
Obama.
get to 500? It might.
I'm not sure about that. There's a lot of competition that's out there right now, and actually they've kind of paused. The 4S wasn't the biggest disaster as possible. What they're doing is they're kind of sucking everybody in, right, to buy that 4S, and then all of a sudden they're going to come up with a 4G Apple, iPhone,
5.
And that 4G, whatever they're going to call it, right, at that point, what's happened, from what I understand with Apple, is that both Verizon and AT&T, right, told Apple about 18 months ago to hold off on a 4G, because once they go to 4G, they're going to suck that bandwidth right out of the sky, all right, and the plans will be just unmanageable. They're still building infrastructure to hold that 4G. So they're letting Android and everything
We'll wait for that. Let's get through 410, fill the gap, and then we'll see if 500 is on the horizon.
We'll see.
For
But like I said, if you use your heart versus using your head, all right, in my heart, I'd like to see Newt. All right, in my head, I still think that Romney, unless he falls on his face, all right, is the best and most qualified to beat Obama in November.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
It's fun.
All right, well, that was a little bonus plan for a holiday shortened week from T3 Live. So make sure I will be in tomorrow for the morning call. Have a great night. Keep it light and simple, and let's just keep tacking some money on and end the year on a right note. Scott Redler, T3 Live, the recap. See you at the morning call. Have a good night.